So let's see what's going on in space and the extraterrestrial world. Let's check some videos out.
That's a beautiful sight. That was the takeoff today of SpaceX. It was off the ground for about 4 minutes. It wasn't mission accomplished for this Starship, as they call it. It's supposed to eventually be able to take people to the moon, and then after that, they hope it will make it to Mars. It's an extraordinary project and program. No one on board here, as you see this. So after it blasted off, it did explode in midair. There's that moment. And again, nobody was on board this. It was an unmanned mission. And here's the reaction back at SpaceX from the staffers. So maybe not what you might expect. They're all cheering wildly, and SpaceX called it a success for going 4 minutes into space. CEO Elon Musk tweeted, quote, "Congrats, SpaceX."
I'm not the only one that thought that kind of felt a little weird, right? But they called it a success, and I'm hoping they know more than I do. So.
Team on an exciting test of Starship. Learned a lot for the next test launch in a few months. With that, we bring in Michio Kaku, the professor of theoretical physics and author of Quantum Supremacy, how the quantum computer revolution will change everything. Miko, it's great to have you with us today. Anybody who has watched this space program or who has seen the documentary on SpaceX knows that for Elon Musk, this is how he does it. He expects failure. We remember in the early launches in the Apollo and Mercury programs, you had a lot of things that did not succeed, and that's how you learn from each one. What did you think of what you saw today?
Well, I think that Elon Musk is correct. He's opening up a new chapter in the history of lunar exploration. This is the first time in history that we've had a rocket capable of being used to be sent to the moon. Imagine the cost of your car if you had to junk it after just one ride in your car. Second of all, there's a new vision there. The old vision was beat the Russians, beat the Russians. That was the old vision. Mm-hmm. The new vision is to create an interplanetary rocket that can be like an Uber for the solar system, so that we can begin the colonization of Mars and we can begin to go to the asteroid belt. So this is really out of the box thinking we're talking about, a new chapter in the history of space exploration.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting, and I love the way that you put it. This had, it said several of the 33 main engines were not firing as the rocket climbed from the launch pad and reached 24 miles. Compare this for, us mortals who don't understand how this works. Compare it to the rockets that we saw go to the moon. What's the difference in what we're watching here?
Well, this is the most powerful rocket that has ever been built. We're talking about a thrust of 16.7 million pounds of thrust, the most powerful rocket. And apparently at least three of the rockets misfired out of 33. And that caused the missile to then spiral out of control and eventually led to its demise. But you realize that even a mature rocket has a misfire rate of about 1%. So this is a learning curve. And eventually this rocket will be like all the other rockets with a failure rate of about 1%, which is what you find throughout the entire industry.
I think it's extraordinary. And, we don't see a lot of room for failure these days. And I think that in order to get us to the next chapter that you talk about, we have to be patient, which we're not so good at these days. But I do think there are a lot of people on this planet who might like to go to another one at this moment in time. So hopefully that...
If I'm forced, let's preface with that. You know what I mean? The sun is about to destroy our planet, or some type of invasion is going on, or this global warming talks and the temperatures, or they do something with these chemtrails to the point of us sending ourselves into another ice age. I would like to have a backup plan with the ability. That's why I'm not opposed. I know how Elon feels about the moon and different things like that, and what has transpired and what have happened before him and what he's trying to do and all that type of stuff. So having a backup plan, I'm not so opposed to,
That will become available eventually. Mikio, thank you very much. It's good to see you today. Michio Kaku, thanks for joining.
In Japan, they're selling tickets to go to the moon
I
already.
know.
Really?
I'm going to save up for that. Thank you very much. Great to see you, Michio.
As of right now, more and more information is being released about the mysterious entities that were sighted in Peru. Oddly enough, since the topic has been trending, locals have been posting photographs of the alleged creatures, with some describing them as giving off bright lights, while others have said that they have big heads with large eyes. This photograph was just posted online by a local called Alfredo. He details that he lives in Iquitos and that during the night, something was emitting a bright light in his garden. Thinking that it was someone with a flashlight, he decided to investigate.
Now this is trending. Do y'all feel like this is a hoax? Put it in the comment section. I need to know, how do y'all feel about this? Hoax or not? Is this people? Because we're going to have that. You know what I mean? And we got to face the fact that we're going to have that. It sucks, but it's true. It's real. People do this. You know, I'm not saying that people in Peru are doing that. I'm just saying that people will try to attach themselves to the trending topic and the story. And these UAP hearings were a trending topic at the moment. So, of course, people are going to try to play off that. So that's why I'm asking y'all. What do y'all think? Hoax? Real? What do you think?
As he made his way outside, he could hear movement, and because of this, he was hesitant to approach. However, as he did, he encountered what he described was a humanoid-like figure that was emitting a bright light. It was so bright that it lit up his entire garden, and he even detailed that it hurt his eyes to look directly at it. He grabbed his phone and took several photographs, but due to how bright the light was, this entity only showed up in 2 of them. The whole encounter lasted no more than 20 seconds, and after the photographs were taken, Alfredo said that the light vanished from the being and it left the area. He switched on the light on his phone, but could no longer see the entity. After this, he quickly made his way inside. Interestingly, he said that this isn't the first time that these entities have been witnessed, and detailed that locals have allegedly been encountering them now for several months. Black helicopters have also been observed in the area. Those who investigate the unknown have said that black helicopters have been a recurring and perplexing element that often accompanies reports of unidentified objects.
That would make me nervous to see something and then all of a sudden start hearing helicopters, bro. I'm gonna treat it like a hurricane or something. I'm evacuating. I'm getting out of that. I want to get as far away from there as possible.
Ominous aircraft, painted in dark hues and often lacking visible markings, have sparked intrigue and speculation among enthusiasts. The term black helicopters gained prominence during the 1970s and 1980s. These helicopters are characterized by their dark color, often devoid of standard aviation markings or insignia. Reports frequently describe them as flying low and maneuvering with an air of precision that hints at sophisticated technology. Some speculate that the helicopters are part of government agencies' efforts to monitor activity and investigate sightings. The association with black helicopters could be an attempt to maintain secrecy and avoid detection by civilian observers. As of right now, Peru is still trending on social media, and this is because residents are allegedly encountering 7-foot-tall entities. In a rural area called Alto Nanay, located in the northeastern part of Lima, Peru, residents who've lived in the area for several decades claim to be experiencing constant encounters with 7-foot-tall entities. These mysterious beings are said to have armored bodies and distinct features, such as large heads and yellow eyes.
Now, I know what some of y'all are saying. With all these smartphones and how good these phones are with the megapixels that they have, we can't get a clearer image. So you could either say that or think to yourself, maybe they're scrambling the cameras, the phones. Maybe they're doing that, and that's all you're able to get. Maybe their technology is that much advanced than ours, and they're able to do stuff like that. Possibilities.
The villagers report that these creatures have been consistently attacking their community during the night since July 11th. The community is currently experiencing a state of fear and unease, primarily caused by a distressing incident involving a woman. According to reports, she was approached from behind and suffered a laceration to her neck after resisting the attacker. This unsettling event has left community members apprehensive, making it difficult for them to find solace and rest peacefully as they constantly feel threatened. Oddly enough, footage was released of the incident, and those who saw it said they could make out a humanoid-like entity, while others noted that the creature appeared to be more bug-like. The Iquitu indigenous people have made accusations regarding advanced beings who they claim are impervious to their traditional hunting tools. These individuals...
If you see the video, I couldn't make out what it was. I watched the video yesterday. We reacted to it. I couldn't make it out. I saw the light, what they were pointing at, heard the dogs, you know what I mean? So I just couldn't make it out, though.
Are calling for assistance from the Peruvian military to ensure their safety against these interstellar trespassers. According to their accounts, the mysterious entities wear protective suits and possess an extraordinary ability to float using spherical footwear illuminated by a red light. According to community leader Jairo Riategui Avila, he described the individuals as beings from another planet. Jairo even attempted to fire at one of them twice, but they remained unharmed and eventually vanished. This extraordinary occurrence has caused great fear and concern within the community. In order to ensure the safety of their community, the villagers have organized night patrols. The authorities have conducted a visit to the vicinity and explored the outskirts of the village. According to these stories, many of the residents report that these entities have the ability to give off a blinding light. One particular evening, an eerie luminescence was observed coming from the fields beyond the village. The gentle hum of insects was replaced by a silence that seemed to stretch into eternity. It's reported that villagers peered out of their windows, captivated by the unearthly glow that painted the landscape in shades of pale blue. Locals said that some groups went out to the village's outskirts to investigate what was causing this light, and said that a figure emerged from the ethereal light. Standing at the boundary between the known and the unknown was a being unlike anything they had ever seen. According to those who witnessed the entity, its skin was a muted shade of grey, its lithe form almost floating above the ground. Large, almond-shaped eyes of shimmering silver peered curiously at the villagers, reflecting the moonlight in a mesmerizing dance. Fear mixed with awe as the villagers exchanged glances, their hearts pounding in anticipation of the encounter. One local said that the group quickly made their way out of there, and that for several weeks now these entities keep returning, with one of the locals saying that they've reached out to the military and said they want the sightings to end. Among the diverse and captivating array of beings that have allegedly been encountered by humans, the grey entity is perhaps one of the most commonly reported. With their distinctive appearance and a prevalence in lore, these entities have become synonymous with the search for advanced life. Often referred to simply as the Greys, they are allegedly humanoid beings, characterized by their small stature, large heads, prominent black almond-shaped eyes, and lack of discernible noses and mouths. Their skin is typically described as grey or pale, and they are often depicted as having slim bodies with elongated limbs. This archetype of advanced beings first gained prominence in the mid-20th century, although researchers into the unknown have said that cave paintings depict these creatures, causing some to suggest that humans have had encounters with them for thousands of years.
For years!
Some theories propose that these entities might not be physical beings from distant planets, but instead interdimensional beings that can traverse different realms of existence. Another
experiments gone wrong as well. We can't completely rule that out. If there's one thing I've learned, man, it is don't rule anything out. There's been some shady things going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about. And a lot of us that have conspiracy theories about. Yeah, it's been some shady things going on.
The hypothesis
Secrets.
suggests that they could be time travelers from the future, using advanced technology to interact with earlier eras of human history. As of right now, it's important to note that more evidence is needed to prove their existence. However, as technology moves forward, perhaps we are closer than what we realize to providing conclusive evidence of the authenticity of these entities.
UFO whistleblower David Grush came forward with claims this week the United States government is attempting to leak medical records detailing his struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder to The Intercept in order to discredit him. But reporter Ken Klippenstein, who published excerpts from the documents...
This stuff is a joke. This is a joke. Why are they doing this to people, man? Like I said yesterday, though, we expected this type of mudslinging to take place. They got to discredit you. They got to do certain things and certain tactics. They got to do this. This is insane to see it play out, though.
Is disputing that claim, saying he requested them under the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA.
News Nation, who is also owned by Nexstar, the parent company of The Hill and of Rising, first aired the interview between Grush and journalist Ross Coulthart. They published a retraction of the claim that Grush's medical records were illegally leaked by the government. News Nation said this aspect of Coulthart's statement was, quote, erroneous. However, Coulthart tweeted last night, it's admitted by Ken himself now that he was told where to look by sources inside IC and Department of Defense who were trying to smear David Grush. Their tip could only...
They trying to smear the man. Smear campaigns are real, y'all. We're witnessing it right in front of our face.
...have come from Grush's highly classified security files. Intercept reporter Ken Klippenstein joins us now to discuss. Thanks for joining us, Ken.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you again.
So... maybe you can answer this for us. So you describe the process by which you obtained these documents that pertain to David Grush's mental state in the past.
Yeah, I've tried to be really open about this because there are limitations in reporting as to how you're able to find out things. And I think the best way for readers to counteract that is to just have a sense of what it is that happened. I basically, I'm a national security reporter. I know a lot of people in the Pentagon. When the hearings first started happening, I just kind of asked them, I said, so what do you think of this guy? Is he legit? And a couple of people were familiar with him, had worked with him, and they said that he wasn't reliable. I'm not the kind of person to just publish innuendo, so I can't run with that. So I thought, well, how can I substantiate these claims that he's unreliable? Because they started hinting at, turmoil in his personal life as well. So I went on Nexus, which is a subscription tool investigative reporters have, saw his addresses, requested, if you can look at my FOIA, I published it in full in the story that I wrote, and just asked for like the last 10 years or so of things to see if I could find some kind of documentation to corroborate what I was being told verbally from folks in the Defense Department. So
you were put onto the scent, as it were, initially because of information you had received from defense officials.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because part of the narrative up until this point bolstering Grush's credibility has been the fact that he is very well respected by those same national security officials, that he is in good standing, that he has a security clearance, that he has had a laudable career within that very agency. I mean, how do you reconcile how people within that industry liking him as being framed to bolster him versus some people in his sector finding him to be not credible, as being characterized as fundamentally a smear, as opposed to something that is potentially offering real insight as to the credibility of his secondhand claims about having awareness of UFOs or alien crafts or aliens themselves?
Yeah, this is an important point because it's exactly why I was so interested in this question. Anytime the media just starts parroting the same line again and again, if you can go and Google his name, you will see the phrase decorated war hero innumerable times. And I'm not disputing that he is. He clearly, has a service record, and I respect that. But my impression was the media is not doing a very good job of vetting this guy. Not just in the sense of, finding anything derogatory, but finding anything at all. That's really all I could find in the reporting, is that phrase repeated again and again and again. So I wanted to try to see what else there is about him. I put out, I have sources that I know, and they introduced me to people. But in addition to that, I put out a call for tips where I said good or bad information, because I really want to give people something that they're not finding in the rest of the press. And unfortunately, a lot of it, was negative. But that was sort of my thought pattern, is cast as wide of a net as I can to get as much information as I can, and then write down what I got. And so that's really how it worked.
That would seem odd to me if it all came back negative, man. I would feel like, dang, they got all these people. It got to them. It just seems odd.
So
everything.
What do you think are the ramifications of what you found? How are we to judge? Does this, in your mind, cast some doubt on his testimony that he has a history of having had a medical health episode?
Let's talk about what you did report, Ken, right? Because there's a difference between what you actually reported and what came out in anticipation of your reporting, where they said, oh, you're going to talk about his PTSD. It didn't seem to me that what you wrote about was about PTSD at all.
No, when he says PTSD, doesn't mean necessarily that you're unreliable, I completely agree with him. And I actually never said that. That's his framing to try to get ahead of the story. What I said in the article and what the documents that I found under FOIA show is that his current wife described him as an alcoholic and said that he has these episodes. Now, when you're an alcoholic, if you're going to go in for a medical procedure and you find out the surgeon is alcoholic, is that going to factor into your, assessment of whether or not this person, has the judgment that they need? I think it should. That's my opinion. But really, I'm pulling this stuff together, and it's up to people to decide what they think of it.
Right.
Do you have
I want to hear it all. Bring out everything. You know what I mean? Because to me, that still doesn't change anything for me. That could drive you to drink with some of those pressures and different things that you have and stuff like that. It would make me kind of take on some other vice or something like that, whether it be drinking or something like that. Could potentially be that. So that's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough for me to just sway away. Now, could it be true? Absolutely. We just have to see how this thing plays out.
Sense of whether or not has he made any statements post publishing your article about whether he still struggles with alcoholism, if he was struggling with alcoholism at the time that he became aware, was told about the existence of UFOs, et cetera, or anything that would affect his ability to read the credibility of these reports accurately?
To be clear, he has said that he completely recovered from PTSD. But again, in his statement that he put out getting ahead of this, he didn't mention the alcoholism at all. I thought that was interesting. That, to me, that was the most significant part of it. Because again, I agree with that. Having PTSD is something that's not uncommon, not just with service members, but, across the society. Doesn't necessarily mean that, it affects your judgment. On the other hand, alcoholism, I think that's a different case. And so, I think it's interesting that was the part of it that he didn't comment on in his sort of media push before the story came out.
I don't know how much you can say about this, but in the rumblings, you said that initially turned you on to looking into his background that you heard from people you might know in the Defense Department, et cetera. Are the questions they had about him resolved by this kind of issue? Is this what you suspect they were pointing to, or specifically them suggesting to you that maybe he would be making up a story about UFOs, UAPs, or is it that he has a history of alcohol abuse is what they were trying to get you to arrive at?
This definitely tracked with what they described. I want to be clear. There's a lot of insinuations that, not just that I was leaked these documents incorrectly, but that they somehow went into his medical records. That's not true. These are people he worked with that he knew socially. Just like how when you go to work, you have friends and colleagues that you just know things about them. It doesn't mean they went into some super secret database to pull something out. That's not, I guess that could happen, but that's not how this happened. This was just, my process tends to be find low and mid-level people because those tend to be the ones with the least political skin in the game. And because of that, they're going to be the most candid and honest and try to ask as many of them what they think. Just like in science, you want a big sample size so that you can get a more accurate depiction. And so these documents, yes, it essentially corroborated pretty much what they were saying, but in sort of broader, less specific terms.
Yeah, I definitely am holding on to all of Robbie's D&D dirt for the day that he finally crosses me.
Oh, God.
But I do just want to read, because specifically, people, I think, will rightly question the probative value of some of the details of what you published, but I do think it's worth just getting it out for the record here in the context of this segment, in case people don't read the whole article, and they should. It's over on the Intercept. But you write, police records obtained by The Intercept under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act revealed that on October 1st, 2018, Grush was committed to a mental health facility based in part on a report that he, quote, made a suicidal statement, end quote, after Grush's wife told him he was an alcoholic and suggested that he get help. Quote, husband asked complainant to kill him, end quote, a police incident report produced by the Loudoun County Sheriff states. He is very angry, guns are locked up. Okay, so to the extent, let me ask you, you have acknowledged that you personally are not inclined to believe this alien stuff is real, but yes. Even if you were, do you think that someone having suicidal thoughts at one point?
So the first thing you put out is something negative against the guy. So shouldn't we look at that as skeptical too? Just saying.
Point in their life of being an alcohol or struggling with alcoholism, of having a violent home altercation. is really probative of having been made aware of or having reason to believe that the government is hiding information about extraterrestrial life?
Well, all the things you just listed are things that the intelligence community explicitly vets people for because they think that it means something about their reliability. And so, if you're asking me that question, what I personally think, I mean, I'm not trying to be evasive. I do genuinely think the public has to decide. And that's the whole point of this is he's making, really extraordinary claims and basing them on sources that he has, not stuff he's seen firsthand. So I think it's important for that reason. But to answer your question directly, what do I think? Yeah, I agree with the intelligence community. I think it makes sense that they vet for those kind of things as part of a mosaic of a person's life. None of this is dispositive. I don't think anyone can't come back from, any mistake, basically.